having fun. They stop as soon as he steps in.
Yes. Dessem looks around, leaning on his cane.
Look at him. It's very quiet.
Nima, a word, please.
Where is Nima in sort of the middle of the barracks dining room?
It's kind of like that. In this case, he would sit by the table, but no one would sit next to her because she's kind of weird.
She's not really been invited in yet.
No,
Not part of all the japes and.
she's not part of the men.
Right.
They probably all of them see her as a girl.
Well, they probably all look to her then, as she's asked for. One of them, a guardsman who really doesn't like you for whatever reason, smirks heavily as he thinks you're in trouble.
Nima just gives him a cold look and gets up, bows to Dessem. Milord. Oh, Milord.
He, turns around and indicating that she should follow him out as he walks out of the barracks.
Not.
As you were, he says when his own walks out.
Mm-hmm.
They nod and respectfully eat their dinner in silence. Or probably just long enough for you to be outside of earshot.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
They have it timed with his the amount of taps it takes.
Yeah.
For him.
I was thinking that too.
They can figure it out.
All right. Outside, Dessem turns around and says, Nima, you have always struck me as a person who wants to go straight to the point. And so I shall. A letter arrived via Raven, and it seems that my dear brother Orenus is dying, if not dead already. He hands over the letter to her.
She'll read it. And you will see a very troubled look on Nima's face. Where she hands it over. Looks at your raven and quote the raven nevermore.
Dessem frowns at this and then shakes his head, mumbling something about Braavosi poetry. And then he says, you had always been close to him. I thought it was best that you, learned the truth as soon as possible.
Trump doesn't really know what to say, just nods. I thank you, my lord.
We are convening the small council in a few hours. You are welcome to attend.
Nods.
He turns around then, and he stops.
Lord?
He stops.
Do not have any gods to pray to. Could you say one for him? For me?
Dessem does some sort of strange grimace for a split second, and then he says, "Yes, I'll take care of it."
Not.
If there is a wolf from her, he'll turn around and move back into the castle.
There are guards around. It's him. Nima did not say that. I just said. Nima will return to the also awesome guards.
She goes back to the guards who, as she goes in, I interrupt it once more, and they don't really seem to like it. Scowl at her a little bit. The mood doesn't reach the same point as it was at. Back in the Great Hall, however. What's going on?
The stew has been pushed to the side, long forgotten.
I stand up from his seat.
Alaric will take the letter and pass it to Laenys.
Look, as he takes, he looks at Brienn's frowned face. You really should eat something, sis. Sighs slightly. Her not responding as continues walking, taking the letter upstairs towards the council, or where the council will be.
Bree will wait until Lanny gets out of earshot and then say, I already did, Lanny.
Alaric kind of chuckles, stands up slowly, and starts slowly heading towards the council.
Everyone's still eating. He will grow as big as his dad one day.
That's his hope.
You wish, kid. That's his hair.
As Alaric leaves, leaving Everin, the only one eating at the table, seemingly having really not paid too much attention, lost in his own thoughts, perhaps of knighthood and chivalry, not really noticing the sort of awkward silence and the only sound of his spoon plopping into the broth anymore. So only him and Briyenn is left.
Bree will look after Sarkazan and his back. She'll look at his boy. Back to the walk.
To look up at her. Give her a questioning look.
Bree will curl her lips upward in a rare smile and then say, if you'll excuse me. And she'll get out of her high chair and push the seat in.
He reaches his hand on the table and grabs the last piece of bread, though he's probably too polite to do it before anyone else left. Yeah, it looks slightly triumphant.
Yes.
She continues eating while no one else there.
Yes, Bree, as she walks away, will say, eat to your heart's content.
He'll say a muffled,
Bree is going to go into this damn council meeting. She's going to listen because she's a proper noble heir daughter. Yes. Yes. Hopefully she never inherits.
She
God,
walks
I hope she never inherits.
She walks sideways like a crab.
Yes. She is practicing her strafing. It's how you dodge arrows.
She strafes into the chamber.
Straight.
little bubbles of crab foam.
Dolphin dives onto the table.
Anyway, do what you want. It'll take her little legs a while to get there.
Maester Cole is here as well. He will inform you all that Lord Aaron will not be joining the meeting. He is fast asleep, and his medicine will prevent him from waking early.
Some just acknowledges with a slight inclination of his head. This is how it usually goes, after all. He looks over the letters.
Take a bottle of wine. Usually, that's what's being consumed in here.
Laenys places back the third letter that Briyenn had.
Not Dessem. He drinks water at these meetings.
Maester Cole likes a good red wine.
It'd be like watered down ale because you don't want to be poisoned. You want to taste the difference.
There are two very famous drinks. One which is cheap here compared to most other places, which is the cider of Cider Hall. The taste of glory.
Yes.
Then there's of course
Alaric knows it well.
the apple wines of the Reach. Very famous, but also very, very expensive. Generally not something you would find in a minor house's wine cellar. Does this house prefer the cider of the region?
I mean, why not?
Apple ciders?
Seems a good idea to. I mean, we know the Applebees or the Appletons fairly well, so all things considered, I don't see why not.
It's of course the Fussaways who make the cider. The Appletons not making any drinkable things at all, just apples.
There's so many apples. Maybe they sell the apples to this.
Apple pies, like.
No, apple pies. Oh, yeah, delightful.
The apples used for the ciders they're actually the cider hall apples are not very good for eating. They're very sour and generally they're not really something you would just eat.
Oh, okay.
golden sheen to them.
Mm-hmm.
They generally are already late in autumn, and so it's usually just one batch a year. Where generally with crops you can have multiples. Mr. Cole will look at Briyenn. Is she is Brienne? How do you say it, Grimith?
Brienne.
Brienne.
Brienne. Right. At Brienne as she sneaks in, but he will say nothing. Simply quirk an eyebrow and then sip up his wine, looking to Dessem.
Dessem shoots Brienne a look, but doesn't really seem to move to interfere either. Probably
Bree is
thinking
smiling at Nima.
Well, he says, looking at letters, some order of business then. Looks over this. First of all, ordinance and death. Let's look at what I actually wrote here again. So, I wish for Catholic and Nalia to be wed to men of noble birth and stature, to the men who wed them, for now they are not themselves. I promise each 400 dragons. And for people given to him. Well, Dessem looks over to the others and says, if we start with a request of dear late Orinus, we seem to be tasked, at no small incentive no less, to marry off some of his daughters. The upcoming visit by the bastards of I've completely forgotten. I'm too tired for this. I'm sorry. Of House Trant. Perhaps they could be a decent match. If they are not all legitimized, perhaps the sum itself would be interesting to them.
The problem
Might be at any case.
The problem being they're bastards.
Looks over.
They are still of noble birth, these girls.
Points at the letter. He doesn't seem to care too much about that fact.
Did he not say to men of noble birth and stature? If they're bastards, then not very noble.
To men who wed them, for I know they are not themselves of high birth. Oh, sorry, I read it wrong. I thought it meant the men. Okay, yes, he wants... Maybe, if they are legitimized, though, that might work. Might work. Depends if they are, like, does Maester Cole know if how are all of them, like now, actually...
Doesn't particularly know. Perhaps it is something that would have been discussed with the giving away of land to Summer Hall 10 years ago, but at that point they were still very young, and the news hadn't really spread about them. None of them have really been married or pursued, even. The trans are strange, and they generally don't have a lot of friends. They are bad at keeping the appearance up that they actually care about anybody. The only ones who might have something with them would be the Swans, because of sort of a grandfather or grandmother connection there, but nothing more recent than that. Lord Trend is simply the kind of man who seems to not give a damn, and that is very hurtful to the prestige of his house.
Well, seems like a decent attempt to make, at least, unless any one of you have any clear idea of possible bachelors around. Looking over to to Alaric meaningfully.
Alaric will kind of furrow a brow and go, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure I could, after a few letters to the right people, find out who. We could potentially wed them to.
Of course, the famous bachelors, even that you certainly all know about. The pair known as the Gremlins.
What?
Well, they're not there.
What?
The two perfectly legitimate sons of House Peasbury. They are known for being very ugly, but generally strong and protective of one another. Then again, Lord Brigad Peacebury is also a very ugly man, and he has few manners. Not a great man, so to speak, but they are, of noble birth. They are just very, very ugly to look upon.
Peacebury. Like how? Like okay, so ugly that like you.
Like people know that they're ugly.
Like we can't
known
look
for
upon
being
them without
ugly. You
thinking.
would see them on the
Okay.
street and be like, those two people are very ugly.
Okay, you're like
A trait as recognizable as Alaric's size, almost.
What about
And known as the wrinkled peas, the ugly peas, or the gremlins.
How about
Poor
the Selmy?
guys. Poor guys.
Does House Selmy have any?
House Selmy has one, but he's an infant.
What? How old are the daughters in question?
Well, thinking about it, you would think that one is probably about 16, the other one might be about 13.
What about House Caron?
House Karen? House Karen right now only has daughters in the family, which is a general problem.
Well, we should
And those daughters are generally very young. Lord Karen is himself young and strong, and the thought is that he will have a son before too long. He's also known as a conciliator and has many friends.
What about Cider Hall and Appleton?
Strong action. Appleton. Well, no one really talks about the heir to Appleton because everyone talks about the Lady Appleton, who is currently sort of the most sought after lady because she, one, is an actual ruling lady, and she's unmarried, young and pretty. It is amazing. It is, however, known that her regent, her uncle, is very possessive and has refused to even let many people see her.
Okay. Probably last in the area would be Cider Hall in our general vicinity. Have they got any?
House Ashford has a couple of set there.
Yeah, we got a nemesis over there though. That's a problem.
The Fossaways of Cider Hall have sons, but those are married already.
Oh, that's a shame.
Their son recently had a young daughter. Generally, people don't stay available for that long.
We could look as far afield as Tarleys and Swans.
Nah.
That's pretty far afield.
Dessem smiles slightly to himself. The gremlins could suffice, I suppose. They are certainly of noble birth, and well, maybe the daughters aren't too picky.
We'll need to see about.
Tarly does have a son, and he's known as the Savage Sam Tarly.
Oh,
He's known for beating, like he has been with a prostitute once, but she died. He is very brutal and is known to be completely without any mercy. Some would call him sociopathic. His father has doted on him, however, and given him the best of military training.
I wouldn't be that cruel to marry one of them after that beast.
No,
If you would.
it
He's
wouldn't be
looking.
cruel particularly.
The Caladan forces. Well, of course, there's appears to be no real haste in here. The oldest one is 16, and it's about marriage age, but 13, I believe, is still some young, generally, for marriage.
She may not Of course, she also may have not even bled, which would be an issue.
Yes, a betrothal could be considered.
Well, let's wait until they arrive.
And of course, these are troubling times. He will lean back. Marriage like this is also a signal.
Dessem size very well. We can keep it at the back of our minds for now, but perhaps some initial contact, some feelers could be sent out to the prospects. The bastards of Trent is coming here. We can certainly talk to them then. But for
Well, we have to accept their accept that they can come first. He's asking permission after all, isn't he? Is he not?
I would assume so.
You would know that this is generally a courtesy. When you send a letter, you generally send people too. Otherwise, it just takes too long.
So they're on their way. Excellent.
Yes. But we can send initial feelers out to Lord Peacebury. See if we can get something on the hook there. He seems to consider. Scribbles down a few notes on a piece of paper next to him. Takes a sip of the water. Looks over to the rest. Well then, next up. I suppose we don't really, when they say like receive them with all due honors, that's just, it's bread and salt, right? It doesn't mean we need to
Generally, it
throw
means
a,
that you
like a
behave
tournament.
nicely.
No, we just need to be nice generally.
I can be nice.
It's like greet them with bread and salt and like give them a board.
Maybe some cheese and wine.
Maybe
Sure.
some wine.
I have to be
yeah.
completely minimalistic about it.
Yeah, no,
No,
but
we can-
just
I mean, we
generally
can-
courteous.
I'm just wondering if they want a complete tournament or if it's...
No, we're not. Well, we don't have the facilities to.
That would
hold a
probably be
tournament either.
presumptuous from
Yeah.
the person sending guests to ask for so much.
Yeah.
There's a common phrase that is used to simply say that they will expect to not be slighted.
Yeah. All right. So.
While looking at Dessem's bird, Bree will chime in. Perhaps your son can entertain them, Sir Cousin. I am sure he'd be very interested in their stories if they are that well-traveled.
That's some nods. Seems likely to me. He has been itching to get out, see the world, has he not?
Yes, he has. We shall see. Are they known for any fighting? Are these any tourneys or anything?
They have not been to any tourneys, and you would not know if they're if they have any prowess really.
Mm-hmm.
We're sure something can be
Lord
arranged.
Trent has certainly not spent time on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
As far as you know.
We shall see how it goes. I'm sure everyone will be pleased to see some new faces. I think he itches to get going with his own squiring.
Without really consideration, because this is what 11-year-old petulant kids do, Bree will just suddenly chime in with, would your son be interested perhaps in marrying one of the, I suppose, my cousins? Uncle's son? Like, she's like trying to do like the hereditary family thing from Braavos. He's noble born.
But related. Bit of an issue.
Bree like blinks. So, are you saying our lieges, the Targaryens, are not good enough for your son?
Dessem shoots Briyenn a look.
Amazing
Alaric
a doting
quirk.
smile.
Alaric quirks an eye, like an eyebrow, and it's like,
And exactly smokes to that.
not a problem, but we prefer to spread our wings.
Bree will just look back at the bird.
The bird, like, puts his head sort of a little bit to the side and then spreads his wings.
Precisely, Vala. We like spreading our wings.
Well, that can be kept in mind if no suitable male can be found. I am sure your son would do what the family requires of him. Dessem smiles slightly, looking
He
over
nods.
to Alaric.
He nods and says, even if he doesn't particularly like it, I'm sure he will. He smirks.
Good.
Says, he still needs to find him a knight to squire anyway.
The maester smiles, as he does, but without saying much. It's always hard to know what goes on inside his head, but he seems to be generally having fun in there.
He's got a little party
He
going
just
on in
looks
that
at us and he's like, I love these people.
Yeah.
They're so insane, all of them. This is
Never
great.
change. I love
Exactly.
I'll try to keep the Lord of the House alive for another 20 years.
Just to be around you, you're so completely delightful.
It's great.
Dessem then grows somewhat serious and says, now then, the letter from Ironwood.
Manaki.
Hmm?
What does Nima remember of those girls? Are they pretty?
Generally, yes. In Braavos, they certainly were compared. They're sort of pale skin, and one has actually the Caladan white hair tendencies. The other one has the very common hair of the Reach, which is a long brown hair, almost ideal here. They're very pretty.
We could actually get them a pretty good suitor if they're quite pretty in the Reach.
Oh,
It's
Nima
the
will
Reach
definitely...
you want to be a good fighter and have a pretty wife. That's
She's
Well,
that's
pretty
kind of
much
an
how it
idea
works.
for your character's son, right?
Nima will definitely quote that the last time he saw them, they were quite pretty.
Most Reach knights get married rather late and prefer to stay bachelors for just, having an ensemble of what's available
It's true.
around,
Well,
generally. It's,
Need a sample platter.
Sow
Yeah.
their seeds, as it were.
yeah.
Tend their garden.
Grow strong.
Yes,
Make some
very
flowers.
strong.
Plant a garden, they say.
Plant the garden.
That is a thing that is said among the Reach bachelors, that they are tending the garden.
Just something to think of. When it comes to the Dornish asking for our attendance to their snake hunt, they use snake, not viper. So whether they mean actual snakes is a possibility.
He frowns. I think the wording of this letter is weird and awkward. It is not addressed to the Lord of the House, and it does not. It seems. He frowns. It, of course, not my place to say.
Dessem nods. I noticed that too. It is odd for someone of Ironwood to contact us in such a manner. It seems obvious to me that he wants to meet under a pretense of this snake hunt. He wants to discuss something. I am not sure exactly what. As far as I can remember, we have not had much exchange with the Ironwoods. And their lands are quite deep on the other side of the Dornish border. And even though there are peace times, that is not the first place I long to visit.
The travel there would be very hard. Lord Aaron surely could not participate in such a trip. He has done so once, sort of stop there and sort of continue on, leaving some things unsaid, and I do not think it would be wise for him to travel this road again.
Of course not. Lord Aaron needs his rest, after all. This would be something some of us here at the council table would no doubt attempt to do.
Bree looks over at her uncle and without further preamble says, Uncle, I think we should go.
Dessem looks over to her. Oh, and why is that, niece?
Bree will blink and just sort of like blurt into, well, it is obvious that our house is in a very tenuous position, or at least that appears to be the case to me, so it would be good for us to make friends in all kinds of places. And House Ironwood, given how it is a meeting point, particularly for the southern edge of the Boneway, would be a great assistance to us, no doubt, for we suffer enemies both without and within.
Nima will smile at that and say, swift as a deer.
Dessem looks. I don't know if we have a map on the table. I assume we have one.
Sure,
Probably.
Maester Cole can go and find one in his Maester's room. That's the map we have over here. It's the strategic map.
Would we? Is there a way for us to access the Boneway directly from us, or would we need to go up north and around through Summerhall?
You can certainly just move through the sort of hilly mountainous area there. Might be the fastest way. If you want to just go straight, simply head for the River Will, and then follow the boatway south.
It'd be like a 21, 22-day trip to get to House Ironwood if we just tried to beeline straight there, Manaki. It would be a little less. Because I know whenever Bree went with her father, we had stops at noble places and visited.
Yeah. It would be around 20 days, perhaps.
Okay.
We would want to keep to the
done a
Boneway.
little less if a small party was kept.
Ironwood is
Back
certainly
in Elaine Quinn's and whatnot.
is certainly a powerful and wealthy family in Dawn, and fostering contact with them is a good idea, particularly if we can have a friend on the other side of the border, especially a friend who also borders one of our more insidious neighbors, eyeing the House Will emblem on the map.
Bree twitches visibly.
The Viper of Will, as they're known,
Indeed.
biting at the heels.
Hunting snakes indeed, he says, looking at the sigil. Yes.
Bree looks over at Sarah Cousin pointedly and says, "See."
Alaric chuckles. Says, I detest walking the sands, but if we have to.
It seems reasonable to me as well that we should visit this. It is peculiar, and it is interesting. Anything we can get to further our house's power, the better.
Bree smiles.
Dessem looks over to the others. Laenys and particularly.
I shall respect your judgment on this, and I am. It could be a useful endeavour for us, though of course we need to first ensure we give good greetings to the visitors coming from Gallagher.
What is the estimated time on arrival on that? Looking at the map.
It looks as well. It is generally quite close, everything considered. It would probably take them about 2 weeks' time, maybe one, if they are quick about it. The chances are that they have left some time before this letter was received by us, though. They could be just a few days away, or a week, perhaps. Or a half moon, as it is.
Pressing on, Bree says, "We need time in order to prepare for us making a journey down into Dorne anyway, so that is great."
Beyond that, there's also the issue of receiving a few family members.
Mm-hmm.
They likely will travel with some guard, but a letter from Dorne needs to be carried by ship to a harbour where it then needs to be sent by Raven to a nearby castle that will then send it on. It can be a lengthy process, as most nobles don't take such sending on of letters to be the highest priority for their birds. As we don't have ravens ourselves, we are not the first priority. We rarely send them back as often. They could be close as well, depending on where they landed.
We shall then do as follows. We shall await the arrival of the Bastards of Trent. Give my brother's daughters some time to have a chance to get to our castle, and in the meantime we shall send off a letter to Lord Ironwood, graciously accepting his invitation.
Alaric nods. Says, it sounds like a good plan.
Very well then. Dessem seems to collect his papers. Make sort of a nod towards Maester Call that he would probably like him to write down some of the necessary letters to Lord Ironwood.
Sure. How does that usually done? Is it as with some other houses that the maester would send the letters and write them and cite them himself, or would you dictate to him, or simply write the letters and have him send them?
I guess it depends. Was the letters from Ironwood signed by the Lord's name?
The letter from Winewood was indeed signed by Lord Varian.
Alright, then we will do him the same courtesy.
Yeah.
As for other things, I imagine Dessem usually handles a lot of the correspondence like himself, but for more like normal stuff, I think Maester Call is the go-to guy for fixing most of the things. Some clerical duties, as it were. But for this, I guess Dessem will write the answer to Lord Ironwood, as I don't think Aaron is really capable of doing so. And after all, Lord Ironwood didn't really seem to address the letter to Aaron anyway.
Yeah. You'll sign it with your own name?
Yes.
What title will you put on there?
What would be my title?
Or simply Dessem Caladan?
Yeah, Dessem Caladan. Is he a... I'm thinking, because he's not Lord of the House, but he is a Lord.
He is a lord. I think it would be.
You would
It would
simply
be
not
right.
add the title of what castle. Generally, you would have
Yeah, it would just be Lord.
Lord
Dessem.
Aaron
Oh,
of
yes,
Respite.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
you
it
would just be Lord of House Caladan.
Yeah, Lord Dessem Caladan.
Caladan.
Yeah.
That's what he's going to do. Basically saying that, yeah, we'll come over for this glorious snake hunt. That seems like a barrel full of fun. Expect 5 of us, nobles with guard, of course.
5 nobles?
Yeah, 5. That's
5?
good.
There's only 4 of us, bro. Only 4 nobles. We have an assassin.
That's right.
We have an
Nima, you
assassin.
get to sleep with the pigs.
Unless you want to bring your son, or
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he can come with.
Does your son want to see Dorn?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if he wants
he
to.
has like on his wall. There's like a map with his invasion plan of how he would do it.
Yeah,
Oh.
session 3, fucking gets a Dornishman. Like, oh, well.
How he would fight a man with a spear by giving it like a hay doll, and then
Tries
Striking it.
to enact upon the song "The Dornishman's Wife." And
Oh, damn it. I was gonna
I get
note
hurt.
that Nima would hum that when we write out that.
Oh yes,
He was gonna hum the Dornishman song.
yeah, that is definitely something that's going on here. I mean,
We
if
will be triggered.
if he wants to come along, I mean, Dessem wouldn't object. It would be good to leave some people in charge back at home here.
Maester Cole
Yeah,
certainly
Mr. Cole is
can
certainly
take care of things whenever you have been traveling. Although it's probably not been that much. Just together with Agatha, there generally aren't that many problems.
Yeah.
It is rare for big sort of events to
And,
happen. out here.
and metagame-wise, considering how much power Maester Cole holds here, I think it's fair enough to reasonably trust him, even though my
yeah.
character doesn't.
like
Most people would.
Dessem trusts Mr. Cole. He has proven himself to be a loyal friend.
Most lords just leave it to the maester to deal with generic things while the lord is away.
Well, they name a steward.
Yeah.
Generally,
Yeah, but maesters are trusted to deal with shit.
Of course, officially, there's no need for such because Lord Aaron is in the house,
Technically.
and he's known to be perfectly capable.
Oh yes,
We should
At least
probably.
in name. Nobody has said anything else really loud.
I actually love how metagame, I legit forgot about that. I'm like, well, shit, well, we're leaving. We need someone to look after the place.
Yeah. It's like, god damn it.
I, as a player, fucking forgot.
yeah.
Why Dessem can't name himself steward or regent or some such, because that would imply certain things.
Yes.
And it always looks bad when a brother to a weaker, sort of his own brother, an uncle to a young heir, takes over things. The heir generally doesn't live long.
No, generally not.
Accidents happen.
But yes,
Bad
okay.
track record.
So send off the ravens to say yes to the Dornish, and wait for these.
Yes, Dornish, we will go.
Yes, Dornish, we shall come.
House Caladan, roll
Let's
out.
bring our castle forged steel.
Yeah, and then we
A
wait for
present for you, my lord. A castle-forged stick to hunt the snake with. Yes. Yeah.
None of you really know how you hunt snakes.
I don't know. You.
I don't know.
I mean, there's some
Oh.
here, but
Oh,
With a
Bree has
spear.
ideas.
No, actually, Bree's
Bree
probably
has
our foremost expert.
The actual thing is that Bree, in her mind, isn't thinking of snakes as legit snakes. She's thinking of snakes as people. And so
Oh yeah,
she's
you're
never had
thinking
any
of them as
problem
a
with this at all.
viper.
I will add, Nima never taught her to catch snakes, only cats.
There aren't many snakes.
it is
Up
known
here.
that there are some very deadly snakes in Dorne. I don't know if any of you have ever. I think that would be like just a base knowledge check if you want to know anything about Dornish snakes.
That's right.
Mr. Cole would certainly add that when you go to do such a thing, you should be very careful because being bitten by them can have long-lasting or permanent effects, such as death.
Lovely. Don't want that.
And you know, the guy who specialized in healing is going to be back here at home.
Also say that he does not have the antidotes for such a thing because he's never studied Dornish snakes. Because when he was being taught, Dorne wasn't really a place you would go to. Of all things, like hunt snakes. There was other issues with going to Dorne than snake poison.
Yeah, that was
It is something he would like to look into at some point, though. So.
Maybe we can bring one back for him.
Not alive, though.
No, I'd love to.
Not like that. Surely the Dornish might be able to.
I mean, we'll club it once we get back here.
Look at all the things I know about Dornish snakes.
Oh, my
well, you know
good
that
my
they're
God.
big and bad, and that the Dornish certainly respect them and
Yeah.
eat them.
and eat them.
When you have had a snake hunt, you boil all the snakes in a big pot, and then you eat them.
Lovely.
Boiled
it's
snake.
like the Temple
they
of
become
Doom.
all
It's
white
gonna
and
be
lose all
great.
color.
In that case, that is perhaps my character, and as part of her fucking forced manual labor, was forced on occasion to boil these eggs.
Generally, they are eaten with very, very hot peppers as well.
Lovely.
The desert peppers of Dorne. Perhaps you
Just
were
the-
forced to cut them, because when you get that juice on your hands, they burn for a day or more.
Especially if her hands are already cut up and sliced.
Yeah.
Yes, Tina.
Dornish love spicy food.
Sure
Too spicy for most, and so that is also why most Dornish feasts last, or at least when they invite sort of Northerners, as they say, to them, they let them last a few extra days afterwards, where bread and water is all that's served, and they generally dig extra latrine holes and laugh at the Northerners being unable to keep their screams back the few days after the actual feast.
That is so gross. And mean.
Well,
Well, they are Dornish. What can you expect?
They are strange, Mr.
Yes.
Cole will admit.
Yes, very strange. Well, with that sorted then, I guess we should prepare the castle for receiving some bastards and some cousins.
Alright, and with that I think I'll cue like a 5-minute break, because I'm getting an error message. I think I need to restart the server.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Java!
make sure. Yes, I had that problem yesterday.
Hold on
Oh.
tight, everybody.
Alright.
Al-
Perfect
also,
time.
also, I'm gonna want that back.
Alright. 5-minute break then.
like fucking like slowly pursue the bird.
Let's take a break until
Until your error message is fixed, yeah?